Hello and welcome to one of the few TBRs that I actually do, my TBR for the Magical Readathon. So for those who don't know, the Magical Readathon is a readathon created and hosted by G at Book Roast. This readathon is held twice a year in April and September, and it is based around a magical academy in a world that G has created. And each monthly round is a semester at the academy, where you read books that fulfill prompts associated with different subjects that you can study. So you can choose what subjects you take with the goal to take the subjects needed for a particular profession. So there are other parts of this readathon, but that's the basic information, and I will include a link to a video that G created as a beginner's guide in the description below. So as this is the first video I've made around this readathon, I'm going to first introduce you to my character. So Aviana Green is an earthling whose element is earth, so a earthling, I guess. So she has green leopard spots and vines that circle her left arm, and every year on her birthday, flowers will bloom on these vines, and there'll be a different type of flower each year. So she is a lover of nature and is often found in the woods near the school. I had thought about dressing up as her for this video, but I don't currently have the means to do so, or the ability to draw her leopard spots. I did think as well that I could have presented this video as Aviana. However, as you have probably guessed, I'm not very good at acting. So this is her 4th year at the academy, which should mean that she is graduating, but due to a death back home, she had to resit her 2nd year, as because of grief, she did not get the grades that she needed. Or rather, I messed up with what prompts I needed to read, so I had to create a story as to why she didn't get the grades she needed. So I have created a whole story behind my character, and I've got ideas about what's going to happen in the future. If you're interested in this, then let me know. I just didn't want to include it here as it would make the video too long. As it is, this is actually the 2nd time that I'm filming the video because my microphone stopped working partway through the last time, and there's like half an hour of footage with no sound whatsoever. But the green light's still on, so we're still good. But here is the actual purpose of the video, and that is my TBR. So I'll split this into sections. First I'll go through the grades that she needs, then what she needs to get top marks in the subjects that she needs, then I'll go through what I also want her to achieve, and then I'll go through the extended TBR. And for this I will be using my notes as I've got quite a spreadsheet of what I'm reading. So there'll be no trying to hide as I'm looking at it. Not that I'm very good at hiding that. So Aviana is training to be a mage hunter, which means that she needs a D in spells and incantations, a Q in conjuration, and an O in restoration. And that means that she needs to read 3 prompts for spells and incantations, 2 for conjuration, and 1 for restoration. So for spells and incantations, to get an O, she needs to do the lesson Luck Charm. And for this, I had to roll a D6 and then read a book in that page bracket. So naturally, I got a 5 for this, so one of the higher page counts. Could have been worse, I could have got a 6. So that meant I had to read a book which was between 401 and 500 pages. So for this, I'm reading The Private School Murders by James Patterson and Maxine Paetro. Then to get a Q, which is Current Spells Trends, I need to read a book that's released this year, and I'll be reading Equal Rights by Juno Dawson. And for a D, which is the Incantation Capture Moment, I need to read a book with an illustrated cover. And it took me a while to work out whether this counted or not, as it is a painted cover rather than an illustrated cover. But from what I can gather, the definition of a illustrated book cover includes paintings. And then for conjuration, for an O, which is Conjuring Circles, I need to read a book with circle on the cover. And for this, I'm reading The Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, as there is a circle in the middle. You probably didn't need me pointing that out. And for a Q, which is Borrowing Spells, I need to borrow a book from another TBR. And for that, I am reading Library at Hellbar by Cassandra Carr. So I can't remember whose TBR I took this from, but it was from the Discord channel that is linked to the Magical Readathon. And for restoration, I just need to get a O, and that's for the lesson Unbroken Focus Tincture, where I need to read a book with a single point of view, and for that I'm reading Slaughter by Darren Shan. So to get full marks in the subjects I need, I will then need to get a D in Conjuration, and to do that I need to complete the lesson Conjure Snack. So for that I need to read a book with food on the cover, and I'll be reading Bed and Breakfast and Murder by Patterson. Then to get full marks in Restoration, for a Q which is Continental Remedies, I need to generate a random country and then pick a book from there. So I was lucky this time round in that I got Japan, and I've got quite a bit of manga to get through. So for that I will be reading Death Note Volume 2 by Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. I'm not quite sure on the pronunciation of those names, so I apologise if I'm getting them wrong. And for a D, which is Magical Rehabilitation 101, I need to give an author a second chance. And for this, I'll be reading the 50 Shades trilogy by E.L. James. So I have read the first book before, and I did not like it. I don't think I've ever read a book which I have wanted to throw across a room so much, or ever read a book where I wanted to reach in and strangle the main character as much. But maybe I will enjoy it a second time around. I don't have high hopes, but we'll find out. Then once those prompts are completed, there's a few more that I wish to complete. So I have an idea for Aviana's future that involves her retraining to be an illusionist rogue. And part of this is due to her being naturally gifted at the subjects needed for this profession. And I feel that her career progression could lead to this, as I believe these two professions could go hand in hand with her sort of being a undercover mage hunter. So with that in mind, I want her to get good grades in shape-shifting, art of illusion, and psionics and divination. So for this, to get a O in shape-shifting, which is camouflage practice, I need to read a book that is a genre blend. And for this, I'm looking at reading Beck by Darren Shan, as this would be a blend between fantasy and horror. Then to get a Q, which is analysing DNA, I need a book that starts with a letter D, N or A, and for that I've chosen A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Then for a D, which is formulation doubles, I need to read a book with multiple points of view, and for that I'll be reading Off the Page by Jodie Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. Then for Art of Illusion, to get a O, which is biomanipulation, I need to read a book with a autumnal setting, either on the cover or in the story. And for this, I'm reading The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. For a Q, which is smokescreen, I need to read a book with technology on the cover. And for that, I'll be reading Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And for a D, which is reverse reflection, I need to read a book with a reflected image or mirror on the cover. And for this, I'm going to read The Paris Mysteries by James Patterson and Maxine Paetro, as there's the Eiffel Tower reflected in her glasses. Then for psionics and divination, for a O, which is premonition prep, I need to spin for a genre, and the genre I got was historical fiction, so I'm reading Georgiana Darcy's Diary by Anna Elliot. For Q, future sight, I need to read a book with a TV or movie adaptation, and for that I'm reading Death Note Volume 3 by Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. For a D, which is dream interpretations, I need to read a book that fits a theme from a recent dream. So I have those dreams that you have when you're half awake and half asleep. So you're dreaming, but you're aware of what's going on around you. And for about 2 weeks, I kept half waking up and dreaming that there was a donkey at the end of my bed. So because of that, I've decided to read The Something Girl by Jodie Taylor, as I know that the first book had a donkey in, and I'm expecting the donkey to be in the second book as well. I did find, though, that as soon as I mentioned this dream to my partner, I then stopped having the donkey dream, and I've not seen that little fella since. And I sort of miss him, as I'm now dreaming about people lurking at the end of my bed, and I would much prefer a donkey to be there. So the final part is my extended TBR, And these are books that I'll read if I have the time, but that are not important for my character. So somehow I actually managed to find a book to fulfill every prompt for Readathon. This is the first time I've ever managed to do that, but there's quite a few to get through, so I guess here we go. So for a O in Alchemy, which is Liquid Sunlight, I need to read a book with a sun on the cover, and for that I'll be reading Daughter of the Red Dawn by Alicia Michaels. So it did take me a while to work out whether it was a sun or a moon on the cover of this. The wolf on the cover made me think that it could be a moon, but it looked more sun-like, and because of the Red Dawn part of the title, it made me think it was more likely to be a sun than a moon, but I am still not 100% sure, but I'm counting it. Then for a Q, Blossom Properties, I need to read a book which is the same colour as my birth flower, and I believe my birth flower is a Lily of the Valley, which is white. So for this I've chosen The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Then for D, which is Flavour Enhancing Tricks, I have to read a book by an autobiographer, and I chose The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. So I do have a physical copy of this book, but it's in the top of my wardrobe, and I can only get it if I bring the ladders upstairs, and I don't want to do that at the moment. So for Animal Studies, to get an O, which is Hatchlings, I need to read a debut book, and for this I've chosen Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. Then Q is Baby Dragon Care, read a sequel, and I've decided for that to read Blood Beast by Darren Shan. And then D is Elder Dragon Care, read the last in a series or the last book available in that series. And for this I have chosen Three in a Shed by C.T. Gray, which is a parody of 50 Shades of Grey, and it might be an entertaining read to read after I've read the trilogy, especially if I still don't like it. Then for Astronomy, to get an O, which is Invisible Stars, I need to read a book with a character with an invisible illness, and I've chosen Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Then for Orbital Shift, which is a Q, read a genre you don't often read, and I chose Any Red-Blooded Girl by Maggie Bloom. This is a book that I've had for a very long time on my Kindle, on my Kobo, and it is a YA romance / contemporary, which I was a lot more interested in when I was younger. I don't read that as much now because I don't connect as much to the characters as I used to, which isn't a surprise now that I'm in my 30s. For D, which is Meteor Shower, I need to read a book under 250 pages, and for that I'll look at Serpentine by Philip Pullman. Then for Demonology, for an O, which is Impling Outbursts, I need to read a book with emotion in the title, and I've chosen More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. For a Q, which is Underground Habitat, I need to read a book with a dragon, cave or secret lair, and I've chosen Blood of Requiem by Daniel Aronson. For D, New Gen Demons, I need to read a book by an author who is younger than me, so I've chosen The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. For Elemental Studies, for an O, which is Stormcall, I need to read a book with water on the cover, and I've chosen Prospero's Children by Jan Siegel. For Q, Rekindle Cinders, I need a book with romance, and I've chosen A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. For D, I Spike Columns, I need to read the first paragraph of 3 books and then pick one. So for this, I read the first paragraph of Mostly Harmless, The Girl in the Tower, and Saving the World in Other Extreme Sports, and I ended up picking Mostly Harmless by Douglas Adams. For Artificery, to get a O, which is The 9 Laws, I need to read the 9th book that I see on social media. So I scrolled through Goodreads for this, and the 9th book was Overgrowth by Mira Grant. I'm quite glad for this because I kept seeing it on my Goodreads feed and it looked really interesting to me, so it's a good excuse to read it. Then Q, Portable Doors, read a book with a portal, archway or door on the cover. And for this I've chosen The Dragon Charmer by Jan Siegel. So I think it's a archway, so it looks like it these two pillars bend towards each other, so I'm expecting that they are an archway, but the dragon is sort of covering it so you can't actually see. Then D is weatherproofing, and for that, if it was sunny when I watched the announcement video, then I had to read a book with a even page number count, and if it was cloudy, then read a book that ends with a odd number. So for me, it was cloudy, which meant I had to read an odd number. So for this, I chose A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Then for a O in inscription, which is Magic of Primes, I needed to read a book with a prime number of letters in the title. So for this, I'm reading Pages to Fill by Travis Baldry, as this is 11 letters in the title. Then for Q, archiving, had to read a book with a vertical spine title. So I chose Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambao, as the title, when you look at it from this angle, is vertical. And for D, Animal Taming Runes, I need to read a book with an animal on the cover, and so I'm reading The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. Then finally, for Law, to get a O, which is Forgotten Tongues, I need to read a translated book, and I chose Death Note Volume 4 by Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. For Q, Ancient Post, read a book with letters or notes on the cover or inside the book, and I chose Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And finally, for a D, which is Myth of the Minusmule, need to read a book with 2 or more M's in the title, and for that I chose The Domain of Arnheim by Edgar Allan Poe. So that's all the books that I plan on reading for the Magical Readathon, and just a couple more. Are any of you taking part? Are any of your characters due to graduate? And if so, what adventures do you think they're going to have once they've left the school? I'm sort of quite interested to see whether people have envisioned any sort of future for the characters beyond the readathon, or whether they're going to create a new character or carry on with the character at the school, or just what you're all doing. So if you've got any ideas what your character's going to do, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in seeing how well I do in this readathon, then subscribe to be notified of my wrap-up, which will go up sometime next month, the month after, which will go up sometime in October. I'm not sure when yet. And if you've liked this video, give it a like, do whatever you want to. I'll see you in the next one.